The most valuable asset you can build for your business is an obsession-worthy brand full of cult-like fans. The type of fans that defend you in the comments, recommend you to everyone, and buy every single product you drop. The question is, how do you actually build that? Most people think it's luck or timing or massive budgets that create cult brands. But I've studied over 100 of the world's most iconic brands, and I can tell you right now, there's actually a very clear psychological pattern. It's not luck, it's a science and a formula. So today I'm spilling the secrets and giving you the exact psychological branding method that I use with my own clients. By the way, I'm Yasmin. I spent years working in various branding, marketing and design roles. Now I'm building a creative studio to help founders build obsession-worthy brands. So how do you actually do it? Let's get into it. Okay, so if you want to build a cult brand, there's one thing you have to become a master at before you can do anything else. Decoding your customer's psychology. You need to get inside their head and understand their deepest, darkest thoughts. To do this, there are 3 layers of their psychology you have to unravel in order. Think of it like peeling back an onion. Layer 1 is what they say they want. This is their surface level psychology. It's what they'll openly tell you, it's their pain points, their problems, anything they say they need. For example, I say I'm buying new shoes because my old ones are uncomfy and worn out. When we know what they say, we know the exact words and language they use to express themselves. We can use this to build trust. Once you've got that, you need to understand layer 2, which is what they actually feel. This is the emotional layer. It's the deeper frustrations, the desires, and the fears they have that they might not even admit to themselves. When we understand this, we can create a brand that actually resonates with them. I say I'm buying new shoes because my old ones are worn out, but emotionally, I want new shoes because I'm embarrassed that people might see my shoes are worn out. That's the emotion behind the buy. Now you've got the surface and the emotional layer, you have to understand the deepest layer, which is layer 3, the identity layer. This is who they want to become. It's the version of themselves that they secretly dream about being. On the identity layer, I buy new shoes because it makes me feel like I'm the on-trend girl that always has her life together. Subconsciously, I'm not just buying new shoes, I'm buying a new identity. We have to go this deep into our customer's mind because if you don't understand this, you won't be able to form that cult-like connection with them. In psychology, this phenomena is known as self-congruity theory. It basically means if a brand can reflect the identity we want back to us, we're more likely to resonate with it. If a brand can show me who I secretly desire to be, I'm more likely to buy their product. It works because it's much easier to buy a product than it is to become a new person. It's easier to buy some new running shoes than it is to wake up at 6 a.m. and go for a run. Take Apple. On the surface level, customers want a new phone or a new laptop, one that's fast and looks nice. But on the emotional level, they feel overwhelmed by tech that's clunky and confusing. On the identity level, however, they want to be known as the kind of person that's creative and unique. That's the level of depth you need to go into if you want to build a cult brand. So here's what I want you to do. Ask yourself, what does your audience say they want versus what do they actually need? What frustration are they trying to escape? And what version of themselves are they trying to become? Write this down because it's going to become the foundation for everything that comes next. Most brands usually stop here. They think understanding their customer is enough, but it's not. If you can't communicate that psychology back to a customer in a way they connect with, you will still be invisible. Which brings me to step 2. We need to use our understanding of our customer to define a brand message they will connect with. If your brand was a religion, your message would be your Bible. It's the thing you put out into the world, it's the thing that everyone knows you for, and the thing that people connect with you for. Now, across every single cult brand I studied, there were 3 critical elements that made up this message. First, you need a purpose. We want to align this purpose with something the audience feels. That's why we did step 1 first. Think, what is the reason you exist beyond money? What is the impact or the change you want to make in the world? Example, Nike's purpose is motivating people to achieve their goals. Patagonia's purpose is about looking after the environment and sustainability. But don't worry, because your purpose doesn't always have to be life-changing or world-changing. For example, Starface's purpose is to turn something embarrassing, acne and spots, into something fun and playful. Once you've found your purpose, you need to name your enemy. This is the thing that prevents your purpose from becoming a reality, something your customer already resents or fears. Now, everyone always freaks out when I say this. Let me be clear, your enemy isn't about being mean for the sake of it. It's about not being afraid to stand up for something and stand against something. Nike's enemy is laziness and excuses. Patagonia's enemy is environmental destruction. And Starface's enemy is acne shame. It works because it taps into something called in-group, out-group psychology. Humans crave belonging and we want to feel like we're part of the in-group. When someone shares your enemy and your purpose, we feel like they understand us. It makes us want to join their cause. That's why having a message is so powerful. When people connect with your message, they're not just buying from you, they're joining your movement. By the way, I did actually make a whole guide to help you find your brand enemy, which I'll leave down below for you. The last part of your message is your leader. Because what good is a message if there's nobody to deliver it? Your leader is the credible character or characters that embody your purpose and fight your enemy. Apple had Steve Jobs, Nike had Michael Jordan, and Duolingo has Duo the Owl. Your leader can be you as the founder. It could be a select group of influencers or celebrities. It could even be your employees or an animated character. It's flexible and you don't necessarily need to be the face of your brand. But do bear in mind, we're humans and we are wise to connect with other humans, not corporations. Having a leader will humanize your brand and give people something to rally behind. Ask yourself, what impact do you want to have? What are you fighting against? And what's the belief that drives everything you do? Once you have your purpose, your enemy, and your leader, you have your message. And this will become the filter for every single decision. At every step of the way, you should be asking yourself, does this support our purpose? Does this fight our enemy? If the answer is no, then you shouldn't do that thing, whether it's a marketing campaign, a content idea, etc. Now, once you've got your message sorted, you need to make sure people actually see it. Because even the best message gets ignored if you look and sound like everybody else. And that's why step 3 might be the most important one. You need to become anti-boring. AKA, if you want to build a cult brand, you need to find the rules and then break them. In psychology, it's called the von Restroff effect. Our brains are wired to remember what feels different. If you look like everyone else, you get forgotten. But when you look different, you become unforgettable. To become anti-boring, you have to master these 3 elements. First, personality. This is how your brand feels and sounds. Your personality has to do 2 things at once. It needs to feel like exactly what your audience is looking for. If your audience needs a friend, you should sound and feel relatable. If your audience is looking for aspiration, you should sound and feel aspirational. Second, your personality needs to feel unique. Find the unwalked paths and the places no one in your niche is playing in. Alternative milk brand Oatly nailed this. They turned a very boring space into something quite fun and comedic. Their tone is fun, weird, and completely different from the other corporate dairy brands. Dollar Shave Club also did the same thing. Unlike all the clinical and safe brands, they were real, funny, raw. But my favourite brand doing this at the moment is a cereal brand called Surreal. They're not trying to sound like a healthy breakfast brand, instead they're leaning into memes and internet culture, and it just works. Next is your aesthetic. This is the way your brand looks. It's how do we take that personality we've just built and make it sharp visually. This is the part people think about when they usually think about branding. It's everything from your logo and your color palettes, your product shots, to your social media style. It's really important you get this part right because design is a communication tool. Images are literally the fastest way into the brain. So the images you put out must communicate the right message. Take Liquid Death. They could have just copied the trend and looked like every other water brand, clean, minimal, healthy vibes. Instead, they look like a beer can. It's interesting, it stands out, and it completely breaks the category rules. Another smaller brand whose aesthetic I'm personally obsessed with is Good Girl Snacks. It's completely out of the norm for what you'd expect from a brand selling pickles. It's creative and it really connects with their target audience. Third, signaling. This one is something I never hear people talk about, but I truly think it's the secret sauce to building cult brands, and in the age of social media, it's never been more relevant. What I mean by this is you need to make your product feel like a status signal. Think of it like a peacock. When a peacock spreads its feathers, it's signaling to others, look at me. You want your brand to do the same thing, though maybe a little more subtly. Let me give you an example. In 2001, Apple changed the color of their headphones to white, when all the competitors had black. This made iPod feel like a status symbol. If someone had white headphones, you knew that person was an Apple person. Hailey Bieber did the exact same thing recently with her Rode phone cases. Lip gloss is usually hidden, it's in your bag, it's not visible. But she made them visible by designing a case which makes them seen in selfies and shared online. Labubu also cracked this code. They could have made a doll that sits on a shelf, but instead they made it a keychain. It's wearable, visible, and designed to be spotted on people. Such a simple design choice, yet such a crucial feature of their success. So if you can hit all three of these buckets, personality, aesthetic, and signaling, there is no way you will ever be labeled boring again. Ask yourself, what personality will make me connect to my customer? What aesthetic will help me stand out? And how can I make my product feel like a status signal? Okay, so we've decoded your customer's psychology, we've built a message they connect with, and now we've made sure they'll actually notice you by being anti-boring. But attention alone isn't enough. The brands that create true obsession go one step further, which brings me to the final piece of the puzzle. The final step is creating a world around your brand that customers can actually belong to. This is where the cult really starts to form. And the question you should be asking is, how do I make an ecosystem that people want to live in? There are so many aspects to this, I couldn't possibly cover all of them here, but you guessed it, there are 3 critical ones to master. First, content. This is the entry point to your world. Your organic content is where the brand lives and breathes, so you have to get good at it. Now, content is this always-on machine. You want to develop a signature style, format, and a voice that uniquely communicate your brand's message. For example, Gymshark built their entire brand through sharing workout tutorials, athlete spotlights, and transformation stories. La La Land, a cafe in the US, built a cult following through just complimenting people and then sharing it on TikTok. Even unsexy brands like Audi have become iconic online by using funny memes to be self-aware and relatable. Notice how with all 3 of these examples, it's never just about the product they sell, it's about the world around the product, about the message they're trying to communicate. Second, we have campaigns. Now, unlike content that needs to be constantly running, these are more like specific moments in your world for specific things. We want these to become like your business's lore and mythology. Think of it less like a campaign just to get ROI, and more of a moment to be remembered in culture. That's the goal we're aiming for. For example, streetwear brand Cortez did their legendary 99p cargo stunt where they sold designer cargos for 99 pence and people showed up in crowds. This has become part of their mythology and is still talked about today. Another brand who's pretty much built their whole brand around this is Mischief. Their whole brand is built around creating moments that live in culture. It's half cultural commentary, half just weird and absurd. Every campaign acts like a statement that gets people talking. This could also be in relation to an event that's happened. For example, KFC ran this iconic ad apologizing when they ran out of chicken. These campaigns aren't optimizing for conversions, they're optimizing for talkability and moments that live in culture. I'll leave a document with all of these references below so you can go check them out for yourself. Finally, to wrap up the world building section, we have experiences. This is especially important to highlight now more than ever because people are craving real life experiences. The obvious example is run clubs. Brands like Nike and Gymshark host them regularly, but they're not just doing it to sell more products. They do it to create a weekly ritual where their community can show up and connect with each other. It's not about selling, it's about building something. Rode also did this recently. They didn't just create a pop-up, they made the queue for the pop-up itself an experience. They had photo moments and they handed out freebies all while people were waiting in the queue. Jacquemus went even bigger this summer by creating an actual beach bar pop-up in Ibiza. They created a literal destination for people to hang out at, not just shop. This works so well because people aren't just craving more stuff, they're craving connection. With third spaces dying out, people are super lonely. Brands that understand this and can create spaces for their community will end up winning. If you want to build a cult brand, bake experiences into your brand from the very beginning. So, to build your brand world, ask yourself, where do your customers naturally gather? What experiences would make them feel like they belong? And how can you make them feel like they're part of something bigger? When you create a world, people don't just buy from you, they live in your universe. That's when true cults are really built. Okay, so let's recap. You've got the 4-step method now to building a cult brand. Step 1, you decode your customer's psychology. Step 2, you define your message. Step 3, you become anti-boring. And step 4, you create your world. Now look, cult brands aren't built overnight. They're built through consistent execution of these steps. When you do it right, you stop competing on price, you stop begging for attention, and people start doing the marketing for you. That's the beauty of a cult brand. If you want to see exactly how to apply this to your brand, I've created a free cult brand audit. I'll leave it in the description so you can go grab it. If you like this video, you'll definitely want to check out this next one, which dives a little bit deeper into the psychology that makes all of this work. I'll leave the link right here.